Hi guys, that's a different angle. I've got this new arm thing to put my clasp my phone on. So actually I've got more options about where I can sit and do my YouTubes, apart from I might get a bad neck because that's looking normally and that's looking up. Anyway, hi guys, I have just cleaned my glasses and I can see something. Oh, honestly, one day I'll come on here and surprise you all and won't be fidgeting, I won't be messing with anything. Everything will just be perfectly spot on and you'll just go, who is this person? It's not the Jan that we know. Anyway, my name is Jan Silver, also known as Looking on the Lighter Side of Life. I've been video logging my journey, my crazy roller coaster of a journey through bariatric surgery. I had a gastric bypass almost 1 year ago. You probably know all of the rest. I jumped on the scales this morning. I'm so happy to say that it's my lowest. I got down to 79.4 this morning. The lowest I'd had before that was 79.6 after my reset. So what it tells me is it is working. The fact that I've cut out my potatoes, pastas and couscous in the evening with my main meal, I'm super happy with that, guys. So I can only hope that, and that's with no exercise. And you know, yesterday I'd gone back up to 80. It's such a small fluctuation, but it still is a fluctuation. If you gain, you gain. If you lose, you lose. It doesn't matter how small. So I'm going to take that. I'm happy with that it's the lowest I've seen so far on the scales, 79.4 kg. Bearing in mind, I started at 120 kg. So over the moon with that totally. Today's chat to you isn't necessarily going to be about weight loss surgery. I figured with Tom arriving tomorrow, I would perhaps talk a little bit about him and how I met him and how our paths crossed really, and how blessed I feel to have him in my life still. So if you're not interested in that, you can click off now and I'll get back to my weight loss journey at some point, but yeah, know that I'm happy about that. So Tom, I met my husband's company and job took us to Asia a few years ago, just after we'd got married actually, and we've been married 12 years I think now. So Harry quite quickly went to India to live on a short trip. Initially it was meant to be 6 to 9 months, which ended up being extended to the point that I sort of said, well, actually I didn't marry you to sit on a sofa on my own every night. So me and Mason then hopped on a plane and went to live in India to join him. Chelsea stayed behind. Chelsea had just finished school, started college, had her life here and the cats, etc, etc. So she stayed behind, but Mason came. We went to live in India, in Bombay, for a couple of years, which was life-changing, as you could imagine, living as an expat with suddenly, you know, bearing in mind I had been a single parent myself, living off of the benefits of the state, and suddenly I go to India where I've got staff and I've got, a maid effectively. It's an awful word, but it's the truth. And I sought out a volunteer option that I could go and help in an orphanage. So to cut a long story short, I joined a group of people that drove 2.5 hours outside the city every week to go and visit these children all suffering with HIV. So this was in India, and I did that and I totally threw myself into it and I loved it. And I'm very blessed that I'm still in touch with some of those children too, thanks to social media and the internet the way that it is. Technology is amazing in that respect, and it makes the world a much smaller place. We then relocated to Singapore for 3 years after that. There is no poverty in Singapore, right? It's a rich country. Anyway, not that I could get my teeth into. After that, we relocated with Harry's job to Shanghai, China, and I was fortunate enough to do some research and find a group there, which Julie, my friend, headed up. She had recently, by the time I moved there, Julie had just opened up a house, rented a house in just outside Shanghai, and she was going around to orphanages and finding children with visual disturbances, visual problems, so any eye conditions and things like that in the orphanages. She would kind of pluck them out, put them into this little house called Shining Star that she employed a house mother and, you know, maids and IEs and aunties to be able to educate these children and give them some medical help. She worked tirelessly to get money from firms and businesses all over the world, and she did a really, really good job of that. Now, Tom was found in an orphanage in China somewhere. It wasn't Shanghai, I don't think. It was on the outskirts of Shanghai. He was abandoned as a baby because he was born without eyes. And I don't know if you know about Chinese, the one-child policy, but it's slowly changing now. But I know back in the day, you were only allowed one child. So if you gave birth to a child, for instance, I'm going to just put it really simply. If you gave birth to a child that had a defect, you didn't want that child because, you know, it might have a hair lip, or it might be born without eyes like Tom. It might be born without a hand or an arm or a leg. So they would abandon these children at the hospitals, which would then ferry them off to orphanages. So the orphanages in China are jam-packed because, you know, these Chinese couple only having the chance to have one child would then pretend they didn't have that child and hopefully go on to have a perfect child, if you like. So this is where Tom was. He was found in a hospital, I believe, and taken to an orphanage. For the first 4 years of his life, I believe the poor kid was kind of tied to a chair. This is the story as I know it at the moment. And from 4, he was very super intelligent. Without eyes, it means that everything else is super astute. His hearing, his knowledge, and his ability to just soak up education and information is phenomenal. So I'm not sure who found him in the orphanage, but it happened, and he was taken to Shining Star. And this is where Tom just excelled and excelled and excelled. There's nothing anybody can do as far as we're concerned about his vision. He doesn't have eyes. I know he's had Julie put him through a lot of testing and MRI scans to see what exactly the nerves and everything inside his eyes. But if you push all of that aside, he is the most adorable, intelligent, funny, loving, kind, caring young man I've ever had the honor of meeting and having in my life. He calls me his fairy godmother. I became one of his guardians when we had his naming ceremony in November, and you also know that Julie sadly passed away a few weeks ago. So Tom's been through an awful lot in his life, but has come out the other end of it, as you will see. I just thought I'd give you guys, if you wanted to know, a little bit of background about him. And, you know, hopefully when you meet him through this channel, because I will introduce him on here, you'll be able to see what a remarkable boy he is. He's absolutely mind-blowing. And, you know, I'm sure this week I've got fears in my head about, you know, he's got fears. We're speaking all the time on the phone, and he'll say, Jan, can you hear me from downstairs? What if I need you in the night? And I'm like, Tom, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on edge knowing that you're downstairs and that you can't see, and I'll be able to hear you the minute you call my name, you know. So we've got all of these little things, and I'm sure one night here and they'll all be put to bed, and we'll know where we are. But it's going to be a bit of a learning curve for the both of us. Hopefully it's going to be one that'll steer the future, because Tom will be able to come here and give Steve some respite whenever he needs. Steve is now a single father, only having adopted Tom a few years ago and not having any other children. It's a massive learning curve for them all, really. So yeah, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of background on Tom, and hopefully you can, like I said, when he comes on and I'll have a little chat with him, I might sort of interview him on camera, and you'll be able to get to see exactly how amazing he is. So I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous about him coming in, you know, not nervous, that's not the right word. We've got an awful lot to do and get through, but there's also a lot I want to talk to him about. You know, he has just lost his mother, and I think he's possibly going to need some TLC along the way, which don't we all really? So yeah, Harry and I've bounced back a bit today health-wise. I feel a bit better. I do think it was the anaesthetic coming out my system. I was just dog-tired yesterday. And the meds that the doctors have put him on are keeping him pain-free at the moment. He still can't open his mouth. His jaw is locked. So my poor husband is on a forced soup diet, soup and porridge, which, you know, I'm sure the scales are going to reflect that too. So it'll be you know, every cloud and all that, really. He sees the doctor again this morning, and we see a consultant specialist on Monday. So I won't be going with him on Monday. I've got plans with Tom, and we're just going to play it all by ear. But I know Tom will just muck in. And yeah, anyway, guys, so sorry it's not about weight loss particularly today. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about Tom himself, and then I'll introduce you properly, perhaps over the weekend if we're not too busy. I've got all the family coming on Sunday to see Tom. I'll possibly take Tom to church on Sunday morning, and it's Mothering Sunday. We can remember Julie. I will be lighting a candle for him, and we'll buy some flowers to have in the house that he can think about his mum, and we can think about his mum. And yeah, so busy time, but I didn't not want to come on and fill you in a little bit. Anyway, guys, lots of love to you all. I hope you're really well, healthy and happy, and I will talk to you whenever I can. I'm probably going to merge some of these videos. I quite like doing what I did the other day with the splicing videos with my Insta stories. So, you know, if it was fun to watch, I'll do a few more of those when I've built up some more of my stories. I'll see how I go anyway. Any questions, pop them down below in the comments box, please. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks all for your following. Much love. Bye.